Our mission is to take the most complex stacks of sources and extract the core knowledge, turning you into the most informed person in the room with surprising facts and zero academic clutter.
And today, we're strapping in for a journey back to ancient Greece. We're going to unpack one of the most foundational minds in Western civilization, Plato.
A philosopher whose ideas, they still structure everything from our political systems to how we even think about reality.
And this deep dive is so crucial because we're not just looking at the famous philosopher who mentored Aristotle. We're getting into the man behind the system.
Right.
The aristocratic youth who saw political chaos, the political failures that, fueled his idealism, and his systematic attempt to define the ideal state.
He was a student of Socrates, a figure the Greeks called the divine, and his impact is just immense. Our mission today is to find out what truly made this original idealist tick. And we're starting with something that might surprise you. The name we all know him by wasn't his real name.
Okay.
Let's unpack this.
That's a great place to start. The sources confirm that the man we know as Plato was actually born Aristocles.
Aristocles.
Yes, that was his birth name. A pretty classical choice, inherited from his paternal grandfather.
So Plato is basically the ancient equivalent of a sports nickname.
It was, yeah. The name Plato literally means broad or wide. It was reportedly given to him by his wrestling instructor, a guy named Ariston of Argos.
Wait, his wrestling instructor?
Uh-huh. The account suggests it referred to his impressive physique, either his broad chest and powerful build, or maybe his wide forehead. So yes, the man who codified much of European thought, he started out as a serious athlete.
What a transition. From the wrestling mat to the metaphysical realm. And he wasn't just a physical guy. He was born during the destructive Peloponnesian War. But his background, it ensured he was raised at the absolute pinnacle of Athenian society.
His lineage was blue-chip Athenian aristocracy. On his father's side, his family claimed ancestry tracing all the way back to Codrus, the last legendary king of Athens. And on his mother's side, his relatives included the legendary lawmaker, Solon. This background meant he got a comprehensive education from the best tutors, Dionysius for grammar and Dracon for music.
He was a true Renaissance youth, centuries before the actual Renaissance. Our sources say he was actively competing in the Isthmian Panhellenic Games as a wrestler. But his mind was just as dedicated to the arts. He was painting, composing elegant epigrams, tragedies.
And even elevated dithyrambs.
Right, which for anyone unfamiliar, what are those exactly?
They were these passionate, elevated hymns sung in honor of the god Dionysus. He was steeped in all forms of Greek culture. He even loved the work of comic writers like Aristophanes and wrote comedies himself.
So he's exploring everything.
Everything, including the popular ideas of the time, like those of the sophists who taught that morality was, relative, or maybe just invented by the weak.
But then his entire trajectory changes dramatically in 408 BCE. He encounters Socrates. And this wasn't just a casual meeting, it's legendary.
It is. Legend says Socrates had this symbolic dream right before they met. A young swan, which is a bird dedicated to Apollo, flying away with a marvelous cry.
Symbolizing Plato.
Symbolizing Plato's future, his elevated intellect. Socrates gave him that crucial missing piece, a firm belief in the existence of truth and the highest values. It moved him away from all that artistic and political chaos and towards systematic philosophy.
And that mentorship, that incredible intellectual friendship, it only lasted 8 years.
Yeah.
And then came Socrates' execution.
Yes.
And that was the political trauma that defined Plato's entire life and his work.
Absolutely. The regime that killed his teacher, Athenian democracy, that became the enemy. Plato's response wasn't just grief, it was this systematic effort to create a new kind of state, one governed by reason, not corrupt politics.
A project that occupied him for the rest of his life.
Until his death, he left his final work, Laws, unfinished.
So after the execution, he goes into this kind of intellectual exile for nearly 10 years. He wasn't just traveling, he was collecting the intellectual tools for this massive rebuilding project.
Yeah. Exactly. He moved to Megara, probably visited Egypt, which was famed for its ancient sense of order. And crucially, he studied mathematics in Cyrene and got in deep with the Pythagoreans. This was transformative.
But how does a focus on pure math and mystical numbers translate into a rigid political theory? That feels like a massive leap.
It's the core link. Pythagoreanism brought him clarity of thought, rigor, and harmony. For Plato, reality itself was mathematical and harmonious. He looked at the chaos of existing governments and concluded they were all poorly run because they lacked this underlying mathematical order.
Which leads to his famous political premise. Salvation required either true and correctly thinking philosophers in government, or for rulers to become true philosophers themselves.
And he defined true politics, according to the Gorgias, as simply making citizens more just and more perfect through education.
So to achieve that perfect society, he develops this radical hierarchical state in the Republic, and it's structured into three classes that perfectly mirror the three parts of the soul.
They do. But before we get to the soul, we have to talk about the ultimate goal. He says the state must realize the idea of the good. What exactly is that?
I mean, it sounds simple, but I'm guessing it's not just about being nice.
Not at all. The idea of the good is Plato's ultimate concept. Think of it as the ultimate form or essence. It is the non-sensory, absolute source of all truth, beauty, and justice. It's the perfect standard against which everything else is judged.
Like the sun.
That's his analogy. The idea of the good illuminates all other knowledge, allowing the mind to see what is real and true.
Okay, so the state is structured to pursue this ultimate truth. Tell us about the three-tiered system designed to do that.
So at the top you have the Philosopher-Rulers. They embody reason and wisdom, and they're dedicated solely to achieving the idea of the good.
Then below them.
Below them are the warriors or guardians. They embody spirit or noble passion and courage. And at the bottom are the producers, farmers, craftsmen who embody sensuality or desire. They're the only class allowed self-interest focused on material things like food and housing.
The communal element of this setup, I mean, no private property, no private families. That's maybe the most radical part of his vision.
Yeah.
It sounds intensely dehumanizing. How do the sources justify that?
It was entirely justified through the lens of the good. Plato believed that the root of all political corruption was self-love, or philotia.
Right.
So by removing all private distractions, private wives, private children, private wealth, the ruling class couldn't divert their efforts. Their focus would remain absolutely singular, the public good.
So the state isn't just an organizer, it's the ultimate moral regulator, using total control to enforce this focus.
Precisely. The state secures defense, supplies citizens, and develops spiritual culture, all in service of realizing that idea of the good. And the system included incredibly strict control, censorship of all art judged only on whether it developed moral perfection.
And even the death penalty for godlessness.
Yes, it was a highly organized, systematic attempt at utopian social engineering, all driven by these philosophical ideals.
So while he's developing this perfect, severe state, he goes back to Athens and creates the most enduring educational institution in the Western world.
The Academy. Returning around 385 BCE, he founded his school on the northwest outskirts, named after the hero Academus. This wasn't just a place to learn, it was a philosophical community, and it lasted until the very end of antiquity.
And we all know the famous rule written above the door, right?
The inscription, "Let no one ignorant of geometry enter." And this wasn't just snobbery, it highlighted his belief that pure mathematics and astronomy were primary. Geometry trained the mind to deal with non-sensory, abstract perfection, the very practice you need to contemplate the form.
And the life there suggests it was more of a regimented philosophical commune than a typical school?
Oh, it was deeply ascetic, following the Pythagorean model. Students lived communally, slept little, adhered to a strict vegetarian diet. Plato himself loved figs and vegetables, specifically to avoid strong sensual passions.
Which he saw as disruptive to reason.
Exactly. He was so dedicated to the routine that he even invented a specific water-powered alarm clock to make sure everyone woke up on time.
That attention to detail is remarkable, and this dedication produced giants.
Indeed. His most famous student was Aristotle, who spent a staggering 20 years in the academy, absorbing Plato's teachings before he went off and opened his own lyceum.
But while he's training these future minds, Plato just can't resist trying to implement his grand theories in the brutal world of politics.
Which brings us to the tragic story of Syracuse.
Yes.
The Syracuse tragedy shows this stark, painful contrast between the idealized philosopher king and the grim reality of ancient tyranny. He made 3 attempts to influence the tyrants there, Dionysius the Elder and later the Younger.
And the first trip sounds like a complete collision between theory and reality.
A total disaster. Plato found the court's excessive luxury and gluttony repugnant. He got into this sharp dialogue with Dionysius the Elder, trying to make the ruler into a philosopher.
And he certainly didn't hold back, did he?
Not at all. When Dionysius asked who the happiest man was, Plato said Socrates. When asked the goal of a ruler, Plato said it was to make subjects good. And most provocatively, he said a tyrant is the most fearful man in the world because he trembles before his barber, terrified of assassination.
Telling a tyrant you think he's scared of his hairdresser probably didn't go over well.
Predictably, no. Dionysius was infuriated. He ordered Plato to be killed or sold into slavery.
Oh.
He was sold on the island of Aegina, an enemy territory, but fortunately he was bought and immediately freed for 20 or 30 minae, a significant sum of silver. And this rescue, ironically, just amplified his fame.
A near-death experience, and yet he still went back 2 more times.
He did. The second and third visits were to Dionysius the Younger. The hope was that the younger man could be molded into the philosopher king. But political intrigue just ruined everything.
And ended in total failure.
Complete failure. The second trip resulted in the exile of his friend Dion. The third trip, taken reluctantly, ended with the tyrant breaking his promise about Dion's return. The whole endeavor ended not only in political defeat, but in the eventual murder of his beloved friend.
That failure in Syracuse, it seems so profound. Does that reflect a flaw in the theory itself, or does his broader work on the soul and reality sort of transcend those earthly defeats?
Well, that's the question that forces us into the deepest part of his thought, the world of ideas. Plato realized that if the material world is chaotic, there must be a non-material, perfect reality.
And that's where the demiurge comes in, his creator figure.
Exactly. He posits that the cosmos is spherical, created, and finite. The demiurge, or creator, didn't create the universe from nothing, but rather imposed rational, mathematical order on pre-existing chaotic matter.
So the world itself is a living creature.
A living creature, possessing a world soul that surrounds the cosmos and contains perfect numerical relations and harmony.
And central to this ordered cosmos is the human soul.
Yes. The soul is immaterial, immortal, and eternal. God created souls once, and then they transmigrate from body to body. And he used this stunning image of the chariot analogy to explain the soul's relationship to that perfect reality.
Okay, so the soul's journey involves a realm beyond our senses.
Precisely. Between earthly lives, the soul ascends to the world of ideas, what he calls the Hyperuranion region, the place beyond the heavens. In this realm, the soul, riding a chariot, contemplates pure ideas, the form of justice, the form of beauty, the form of the good.
And the chaos of the earthly world is explained by the fall from that perfection.
It is. The chariot is drawn by 2 horses. The white horse is noble spirit, but the evil horse represents base appetite, and it drags the chariot down, causing the soul to fall back into the imperfect sensory world.
So the quality of our life here depends on how well our charioteer reason controls those 2 powerful forces.
You've got it.
And that concept of the soul having 3 distinct parts, reason, spirit, and appetite, is the exact metaphysical blueprint for his ideal state, isn't it?
It is the most elegant insight in his philosophy. The individual soul is isomorphic to the state. Harmony in the individual requires reason to govern spirit and appetite. Likewise, harmony in the state requires the ruler's reason to govern the warrior's spirit and the producer's appetite.
It's all connected.
The ultimate goal of political life is just the societal version of individual self-control and harmony.
So if the soul needs reason to achieve control, how does Plato say a thinking person actually achieves truth in this flawed world?
That brings us to dialectics. And what's fascinating here is that Plato introduced the word dialectic in the later meaning we use today. He was contrasting it sharply with the often self-serving rhetoric of the sophists.
So it's not just a conversation, it's a rigorous methodology.
Absolutely. He believed the thinking person achieves truth by engaging in an internal dialogue, actively and rigorously resolving the contradictions that arise in thought. This process of questioning and resolving contradictions was, for Plato, the only way to understand the non-sensory lessons of things. It was the only way to climb out of the sensory cave and back towards the forms.
So we have covered the wrestler named Aristocles, who, traumatized by the execution of Socrates, designed a communal utopian state, experienced devastating failures trying to implement those ideas in Syracuse, and yet left behind the enduring theories of the immortal soul and the world of ideas.
And yet, Plato was incredibly humble about his personal legacy. He only mentioned himself twice in his surviving works. But his impact is undeniable. The famous quote by A.N. Whitehead is still true. The safest general characterization of the European philosophical tradition is that it consists of a series of footnotes to Plato.
That quote just perfectly encapsulates the sheer depth of his influence. His friends remembered him as being quiet, reflective, firm in his convictions. He believed the sweetest thing is to speak the truth.
And to leave you with a final provocative thought from our sources, shortly before he died, Plato had a dream that he turned into a swan. flying from tree to tree and causing trouble for bird catchers. His pupil Simmias interpreted this to mean that Plato would remain elusive to those who want to interpret him, because his writings allow for the most varied readings: physical, ethical, theological. So if the father of Western philosophy is intentionally elusive, what does that complexity mean for our ongoing search for his true meaning today?
Join us and keep your curiosity well fed. Who knows? The next video might be exactly what you didn't know you needed.